Is this that JPP podcast?
Kevin shows up with the news LJ was hoping for. NBA free agency talk. After that, they try to figure out Elon Musk, where all the aliens are, and music copyrights. All that and more this week on Just Press Play.
The red wasp is after me. Pregnant ladies and little kids better get the hell out of the way, because I am running. I'm like Forrest Gump, dude. I am running. So, the Titanic was the biggest ship on the ocean, but that didn't mean it was unsinkable. Okay. All right. I want you each to use ombudsman in a sentence next week. I got one for you. My name is Kevin, the official ombudsman of the Just Press Play podcast. You like apples?
All right, we are finally, it's been a while, guys, but we are back. I got Pops and LJ with me. What's up, guys?
Oh, you know.
Man, not much.
Kicking.
It's been a minute or two, no doubt.
It's the Just Press Play went on a little bit of a week or a little bit longer hiatus, but we're back. We're back and rolling. And as always, we are brought to you by MyBookie. And if you're going to be gambling, you got to get off the sidelines and get in the game. And MyBookie's the way to do it. So if you want to go on there, put in the JPP promo code, and they will match your deposit dollar for dollar. But I want to get into it. That's surprising. We're recording this on Sunday. It was a shocker, but Jason Garrett was conservative in the Cowboys game and opted to kick the field goal instead of go for the win. And then there was a mental error and a penalty cost the Cowboys the game. I mean, you never see that. From
never see that. It's crazy.
Rare form.
And then,
goodness.
And then we were able to get LJ to come on the podcast because the Broncos won 100-0 against the Cardinals on Thursday.
Until, finally I was able to come back and show my face or my voice, as it were.
We were worried if he'd ever come back till the Broncos won.
Well, I mean, they had to stop a running back from getting 200 yards. That was my one qualification. So we finally did it, and now I'm here.
Speaking of football, I think you wanted to mention something about this game. We're going to touch on a lot of different stuff today, but you were going to mention, I think, something about Drew Brees in that Saints-Ravens game. I know he has now beat every NFL team, but in that game, Justin Tucker, of all people, missed the game-tying extra point.
Did he really?
Did you see the look on his face?
Yeah,
did you see the look on his face?
Oh, my God.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of knuckled or something. It just, he kicked it, it looked true, and then it just started drifting. I guess it'd be like a golf fade.
What was his face after the game, Dad?
His face were just these huge eyes, like, what the hell just happened?
Oh yeah,
it was like, I don't miss kicks. What are you talking about? I don't miss kicks. I don't do that.
My whole worldview is thrown. I don't know what to believe in anymore because I mean, anything under 63 yards and Justin Tucker is money, and he missed an extra point.
Wow.
I think the Ravens weren't even probably watching. Joe Flacco probably didn't believe someone when they were like, "Yo, Justin missed the extra point." He's like, "Shut up, let's go."
Right?
Yeah, let's go. Take this W and go.
Wow.
But your boy, Dad's boy, Drew Brees, has now beat every NFL team in all 32 teams. He is now beaten.
That's
but you were going to say something about
I did, and it's related to that, Kev. But look up. There's only two other members of that club, and that would be Peyton Manning and Brett Favre, aka Favre. And then I thought what was interesting is there are 4 other quarterbacks that have beaten 31 teams.
Are we going to guess them?
Would you like to?
I think that'd be kind of fun. Brady's got to be one, right?
Brady is one. And what's the only team he hadn't beaten?
Patriots.
The Patriots, of course.
Well, that's what you're going to look for. I think to guess them, we have to think of guys.
An all-time great for a single team.
I think you're going to get. I don't know. One, I just don't think you're going to get. So
one I would have thought would have been on there, but I guess he never went back and beat the 49ers after he went to the Chiefs. But Joe Montana, would he be one?
Joe Montana is not on the list.
Let's see. Dan Marino, would he have pulled off something?
That was a thought.
He played a long career.
Dan Marino is not on the list.
John Elway.
That was my homer.
Elway is not on the list. Let me help you a little bit. 2 are currently playing.
Aaron Rodgers?
Aaron Rodgers is one of them. He obviously hasn't beaten the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I'm going to go with the wild card here. Maybe LJ's favorite player. We'll go Ben Roethlisberger.
Absolutely correct.
Big Ben.
Well, and if you think about it,
I would like to say that Big Ben didn't get those wins. It was the Steelers. That's my argument, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, but you think about it. So what? Hadn't he been to 2 Super Bowls? Has he won 2?
He's been to 2. I think he's been to 2.
Right.
And
well, you think about that. He's been around a long time, so he's played a lot of teams. So I can see. I wouldn't have thought of him, but yes, he was on the.
And the Steelers
list.
win a lot. I mean, that's just a fact.
And they win a lot of football games, and that's, I think, somewhat related to Mr. Roethlisberger, maybe a little more than LJ does, but still, it's the team around him a lot. He had a great defense for years and years.
Listen, so there's one more player that's not playing.
And he is not active. He's not a currently active quarterback.
It's going to be somebody stupid like Vinny Testaverde or something.
No, but you're kind of on
Tony
the right
Romo
track. No.
any chance I get to mention Tony Romo, I gotta take my chance.
Let me see. I think I need to give you a hint.
Vinny Testaverde was on the right track.
Well, because he had a lengthy career. Brad Johnson? No. This guy played. No, this guy played a lot of his. I think probably most of his career that you would remember with the Carolina Panthers.
Delhomme.
The good guess, but before Delhomme.
God, I didn't know. I didn't know how long the Panthers have been around. I don't know if I know a pre-Delhomme.
Y'all would have been very young. I believe he went to college. And
I hope he went to college if he got to the NFL.
Penn State, I believe.
Hey, boy, I'm not drawing a name.
This is really good radio. I don't think we're gonna get it. I don't.
Okay. All right, I'm going to give it to you. You ready?
Give it to us, please.
Kerry Collins.
No. I would not guess that.
Yeah. Who knew? He's beaten everybody but Miami.
Wow.
I wouldn't have been able to guess the one team he hasn't beaten.
Yeah.
I don't know. But he was truly on the list. And I think he was a Penn State quarterback. And I think he played most of his career at Carolina. When I looked up his stats, there were a lot of Carolina.
It's interesting. Kerry Collins has played forever. And I know
he played a lot of years.
I know him more so from the tail end of his career, but I don't know. I didn't realize he played for the Panthers even. I remember he had a little run at the Titans for a little bit. I kind of remember him as a journeyman at the very end of his career.
He was always really kind of a journeyman,
that's
he had
a pretty impressive stat though by him to kind of go, hey, by the way, when he's talking to his grandkids one day.
Journeyman might be the best way to get that sort of a stat, maybe because you play like a different set of teams every couple of years instead of.
Well, that's the thing with Breeze is Breeze just doesn't play the Ravens very often, so he hasn't had a lot of opportunities to beat the Ravens until.
So I wonder if maybe somebody like Fitzpatrick is climbing up the list on something like that,
perhaps
weird places.
And you got to think Brady will never beat all 32 teams. I just don't see him finishing his career anywhere other than.
I don't know. I'd like to see it in a couple of years. I think he might be somewhere else. We'll see. We'll see.
That might be a topic for another day because that is interesting. There might be a rift there between the upper beings.
Well, I think there definitely is. It's just the question is, will it matter?
Well, yeah, he's getting along in the tooth. Geez,
So speaking of, I wanted to bring this up. We didn't get a chance to touch on it last weekend, and if you remember, the last week's primetime games, Sunday and Monday night, were both fantastic games.
Great games.
But
great games.
The interesting thing is both of them were, one was 43-40 for the Patriots over the Chiefs, and then the other one was, I don't know, I don't remember what the Packers' final score was, but it was 38-35. It was a real high scoring game. Is that the new NFL? Is these high scoring 30 plus for both teams? And is that what the NFL wants, you think?
Yes and yes.
Well, that's what they wanted with the rule changes. That's why we're where we are. They've been looking for high scoring games for 10 years now. So, and you can see the increase going. That
Chiefs Patriots game, I know Adam Schefter throws out one. I think you've mentioned this a couple of weeks too, LJ, but Adam Schefter seems like every Tuesday or Monday puts by the way, the NFL is on pace to have the most first downs, touchdowns, points, and all this blah, blah, blah. But it almost looks like, that Patriots-Chiefs looked like a Big 12 game. It was just whoever touched the ball last was going to win as long as they had at least 30 seconds. They didn't take any team.
Yeah. When Mahomes threw that touchdown to Tyreek Hill and there was 2.5 minutes, you just knew that's way too quick. You knew that was a problem.
Yeah.
So I think part of this shift is a little bit about, we see all the rules with safety, and like the defenders can't really hit you going over the middle like they used to. So guys have so much more freedom than they used to, and all that. But I think a lot of this shift in the rule changes and the way the NFL is, I think fantasy football probably has a huge emphasis on why the NFL has shifted this. Because as viewers, we want our fantasy, like just in general, like Thursday night's game when you're watching the Broncos Cardinals. If you're not LJ and a huge Bronco fan, you're probably only watching that game if you have David Johnson or if you have Larry Fitzgerald or something.
Right.
And so I think the NFL knows fantasy football gives us a ton of ratings. And what do fantasy football owners want? They want points.
Scores.
So I was thinking about that the other day.
On that topic, the idea of the NFL wanting all the fantasy owners to be watching, I think that also, like, I figured out, I think a couple of days ago, what I think the Broncos are missing, because they've got like an elite pass rushing core now, even better than they had when they won their Super Bowl. They've just added more and more talent every year, but they still can't seem to like do anything on defense. And so like, I think I kind of figured out what their problem is. And that's something that you just, you were talking about fantasy football makes you smarter, dumber, stay the same. I think fantasy football cannot give you that information. You cannot find what the Broncos are doing wrong with their middle linebackers if you're just a fantasy fan. You know what I mean? So
right.
Well, and also, I mean, with the way I think NFL teams are starting to realize it too, and it's with the way the rules are, you're not going to stop Patrick Mahomes. Like the Patriots go, we might get a couple interceptions on him, but at the end of the day, he's going to score 30 points. So we better score 33 or 35 or 40. You're not going to get another year, I think, like the 2000 Ravens, where a defense can carry Trent Dilfer to a Super Bowl. Cause I just think you got to score once it gets to the playoffs, you're going to have to score 30 plus to win a game.
We'll see. I still think there is like this unspoken thing that you've got to have a decent rushing game to win a playoff game. I think that's still probably, I mean, we'll have to see what happens, but it seems like that separates the good teams from the great teams once the playoffs start.
Did y'all see, speaking of the great coaches and the not so good coaches, I don't know how much longer old Hue Jackson's gonna get to stick around at Cleveland. I mean, you see, I read a stat today. It was actually from Ben Albright, who's joined the show a few times. He put on Twitter that Bill Belichick would have to lose the next 1,070 games in a row, which would be the equivalent to over 66 seasons, to fall to the same losing percentage as Hue Jackson as a head coach. So just the gap between those two. Wow. Shifting a little bit on sports. I know LJ was pumped to see this. Also, since the last time we've talked, the NBA has started back up. And I wanted to talk about, what do we think 2019 free agency is going to look like? No, I'm kidding. This is more so just trolling LJ, just messing with L. But
please put him out of his misery quick, LJ.
But already we're having. Could Kevin Durant go to the Knicks next year? Could Clay?
Oh no!
It is funny, LJ. It took literally like 24 hours. I think Kevin Durant and the Warriors got a win on opening night. And in a tweet, someone he put something about one win or one game down, 81 more to go or something. And then his brother, who I don't remember his name, but his brother's he has an Instagram like T Durant, and he commented on there, we're about to fill up this hand, talking about rings on his fingers, and then we're out of here. And of course the Twitter blew up, like NBA Twitter blew up, like, oh, that's his brother saying he's going to New York. They're going to win one more ring and he's going to New York. And it just blew up and went all over the place. And Durant's like, bro, who even looks at the comments on an Instagram picture? Why are y'all worried about it? And all I could think about was LJ just pulling every single hair out of his head, going, why are we worried?
He's going to start if you don't stop talking.
Can NBA fans just be happy watching some Polish giant dunking without leaving the ground? Like, that's enough. Can we just enjoy that instead of talking about next year?
Are we talking about my boy Boban at the Clippers?
Absolutely. Man. That was amazing.
How tall is that guy?
7'6".
7'6".
Wow.
So he's Yao Ming. It's great. The clips of him dunking without leaving his feet are the best thing ever. I could watch highlights of that all day long.
It's absurd. I've never seen anything like that. It's kind of interesting to see what
to me, what I think I saw that on Saturday night, the Rockets played the Lakers, and it was LeBron's home debut in LA. And it was wild to me to see how ESPN was drumming it up, like advertising for this game. And I was like, this is game 2 of 82. I mean, it's like college football Saturday. It's NFL. Like I've never seen them, like every break when they came back to the big college football game, they would be like, tonight at 9:30, we're showing the Lakers game. And it turned out that I saw that the rating for that was the best rating ESPN's ever gotten in a regular season game since the Warriors won their 73rd game to break the Bulls record a couple years back. So it's just, the NBA does draw in some numbers. LeBron and them Lakers, they draw in some numbers.
And it's smart to push it hard because football can't not piss off 80,000 people at a time. Like, there's no way. So, like, just advertise hard for basketball, and those fans will find a place to watch their sports. It's smart.
Talk about just sports in general, what people are watching. It's got to be a total slap in the face. I know we're not huge baseball guys, but on Saturday, Game 7 of the NLCS to see who goes to the World Series, that's been shown on Fox all week, and it got pushed over to FS1 while the college game of the week or whatever was on Fox that night.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I forget which game it was, but a college regular season game, football game, took the primetime slot on Fox over Game 7 of the NLCS. That just blew my mind. I just would think, the chance to go to the World Series.
The world doesn't care about baseball unless it's in the series, and they don't care about hockey unless it's in the cup. Sorry, John Payne.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's a football, basketball, and World Cup when every 4 years or whatever, and Olympics, and those are the sports that matter.
Yeah.
As far as TV,
a lot of truth to that.
Did y'all see over the weekend? I know. I don't really know what Elon Musk does. I know he's like a billionaire, and he's always talking about some random thing that he's going to create or whatever. Yeah. But he took a shot at Fortnite and all the Fortnite players out there. He tweeted out a picture, and it was like, I don't think you've seen this, Dad. It was like an edited screenshot that he took, and he kind of changed up, and it looked like an article from a headline, and it says Elon Musk buys Fortnite and deletes it. And in there, like, they put like a quote, and it says, from Musk, I had to save the kids from eternal virginity. Because I don't know if you've heard much about Fortnite, but it seems like everybody in the world plays Fortnite right now. And then,
no, it does, yeah.
So that led to the worst exchange of burns on the internet that I've ever seen in my life. Because then Fortnite's official Twitter account replied back with an actual article where Elon Musk predicts that SpaceX could build a base on Mars in the next decade or something. And they replied with that article and was like, wow, a whole decade? Why don't you just build it? LOL. And then Elon Musk said, okay. Yeah, Elon Musk replied back to it and was like, things are difficult in reality. It was just the most boring dig back and forth between two people I've ever seen in my life. And
I think Elon Musk is a weird dude, but I think he's a genius billionaire, and he needs to stay off Twitter because he is always in some fight that's just going to get him in trouble. And if he just stayed off the internet, I think he'd actually do some good, but
sounds like another person I could bring up, but anyway.
And then some Twitter user replied back eventually. I did say this and it was kind of funny. It said, excuse me, it's like some verified Fortnite guy. It's not Ninja, the guy that everyone knows, but he's one of the best players, whatever. And he said, excuse me, Mr. Musk, but I think it's important for me to state that I actually lost my virginity after playing Fortnite for the first time. And it's just like a 25-year-old professional gamer. It just it was just cracking me up. What does Elon Musk, how did he get his money? Do y'all know?
PayPal.
He invented it?
And a guy named Peter Thiel invented PayPal. And so then they both made a lot of money off of that and then invested that money into other companies and, just were really smart with money for like 10 years. And now they're both like obscenely wealthy, like beyond.
So he didn't make his money like in this whole space realm and spaceships and flying to the moon and
this
Tesla.
Is actually something that he's essentially doing for fun. I mean, he hopes to make a profit on it someday, but he's building rockets just for the hell of it. So.
Because it seemed like I don't know when it happened, but over the past a year or two ago, out of nowhere, Elon Musk just popped up. I don't remember what he did, and all of a sudden it was like every day the top story was Elon Musk says we're going to go to the moon or Tesla's going to do this or something. I just had no idea how this guy made all his money.
Yeah, there's Teslas now in our atmosphere.
Yeah,
he's got a company where they dig holes through the ground to like clear for tunnels, and then they use that dirt to pack into bricks. And the name of that company is The Boring Company. One of my favorite names for a company I've ever heard.
It's literally the boring company.
Yeah, because they bore through the earth.
So that segues me perfect. Go ahead, Dad.
Well, he's doing that, right? He's digging these tunnels for to solve the LA traffic problem, isn't he?
He wants to build these super trains he wants to build a train where you can go from LA to New York in like 45 minutes.
Is that going to be underground? Is that?
As of right now, that's the plan, because if you think like the fastest way to a place is a straight line, then, if you could dig a straight line through a sphere, then that would be a lot faster than driving over the surface of it. So,
well, true. But I had heard, his main, and I heard him on some podcast, but that his biggest deal maybe? Now was it was Rogan.
That's where he started smoking weed on it.
Did he smoke weed with Rogan on there?
He lit up. Well, Joe Rogan was smoking, and Elon Musk was like, I think he made a joke, and he was kind of like, you probably can't smoke this because you're like got all your stocks and everything, and people will say something. He's like, I can do whatever the hell I want to. So he grabs it and takes him a good hit of it.
God, see, I didn't listen to all of it.
The pictures are hilarious because he looks like somebody that's never smoked before. So he's like,
it is pretty funny. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Sorry, podcast listeners, I'll have to cut that out.
Yeah, bad radio.
I took a picture and posted it.
What were you going to say, Dad? Before we interrupted you about Elon Musk's weed smoking?
His main thing was he's drilling these tunnels to solve the LA traffic problem.
Yeah.
He's going to build roads. You're actually going to drive under the surface of the earth.
Yeah.
So that was where he was doing all this boring is one of the things that
I don't know. I don't know much about LA, but apparently I don't think you're able to live in LA without like tweeting about the traffic. Like every celebrity that I know or that I follow, I don't know very many celebrities, but all the ones that I follow talk about how the traffic's so terrible. Yeah. So this would be a pretty good invention. But so that gets me to my next thought on Elon Musk is this guy just like me or you sitting around and we think, man, it'd be so cool if we could solve the traffic. And he's just like, I have enough effing money. Let's do it. Let's actually solve it.
I think to some degree,
like me and you, we obviously can't. He's just like, let's actually, because most people just go, oh, that's so you're not fixing LA traffic. Why? They don't waste time on it. He's like, well, actually, if you put enough money into it and you do it, you might be able to fix it. And if you do, it'll probably be profitable because people will pay.
Well, I think for one, he is an intelligent person. Like verifiably just a really smart guy. So like for one, he can come up with an actual viable idea for it in a way that like I probably couldn't. I don't want to speak for you two. You guys might be on that same level, but but then the other thing is, he has enough capital. Yeah, the jury's still out. We'll see, but he has the capital to throw at it too, which is huge.
Yeah, he surrounds himself with intellectuals engineers and mechanical engineers and people that can work on some of these problems.
Well, and that's what.
So he has an idea.
If you go back to the boys stuck in that cave, like over the summer, which this is like a whole, like if you want to love Elon Musk, this is a good thing to look up. And if you want to hate Elon Musk, this is a good thing to look up. But anyway, one of the things you can say from it is that an emergency happened and then he and a team of like 14 of the smartest engineers in the world just immediately started working on a project to fix that situation, and had like a prototype done in a week.
But it wouldn't have worked, right?
Well, there's a lot of debate. It turns out that it probably wouldn't have. It's not as useful as a human diver because it wasn't as limber, but it still might have been better than nothing had like the tides gone up or, it wouldn't have worked in the exact situation they were working on, but it looks like it was something that could have been useful in a different situation. He takes much more credit than whatever. It's a whole saga.
Yeah.
But the fact that he came up with something in a matter of weeks with some of the best engineers in the world, what problem could you throw at that, someone like that at and not have at least an idea of a solution?
Well, and I think I think maybe one of the points you're getting to, or at least what I took from it. And it's just, he saw something where these kids are trapped in a cave and he thought, hell, let's design something. Let's do something to try to get these guys out. Even if it didn't work or wouldn't have worked, the fact that he was like, let's go get some smart ass people in a room with some money and let's figure this shit out and try to save these kids. That's pretty cool. But then, if you want to like Elon Musk, that's cool. But you can look up and there's some things he did where you're just like, just shut your mouth, or
just get off the internet, man. Just please. But
I'm with Dad. There's another person that maybe could use just someone to take their phone away some nights, but.
Yeah, I feel like we didn't clarify genius was an important part of what I said earlier. But, I think we're all on the same page.
So, all right, we mentioned Musk and we mentioned space and all this travel. That kind of segues us into the next topic. I think LJ wants to talk a little bit of aliens and space, and I'm always down for some space and aliens, and hell, might even throw a little conspiracy in there. You never know. So, So what's up? Just talk to me.
I do want to just while we have like a nice easy segue. I want to say that I have heard this theory that there are aliens among us, and we just don't know it. And so when you look at like the geniuses that are able to change the world, the Albert Einsteins, maybe the Elon Musks, maybe those are aliens that have been sent down to protect us from ourselves. And so like that's maybe one way to kind of see the universe. Anyway.
I could get lost.
Don't get Kevin started. Yeah, he's rolling over there.
They might actually be able to get us to the moon one day, like land. Are we not? We might not be doing that today. I'll let you go. What were you going to say, El?
I did. So Kevin, I want you to know that I talked to Andrew, and we decided that if you're going to go into your moon and dinosaurs thing, we need even teams on conspiracy theorists versus normal people. So he'll have to come on for that week. But anyway.
Oh my, book it. That is happening in the future. That is happening.
So have you guys ever heard of the Fermi paradox?
I barely. You've mentioned it like once. I don't really know anything about it though.
I vaguely heard about it. Yes.
So there's this. It's actually not really a paradox. It's more of just like a quandary that we don't have a real answer to. But there's this guy Enrico Fermi that came up with it, and so basically the idea is if you look at how many stars there are in the galaxy, there are basically 10,000. I'm getting all this off of a website, waitbutwhy.com. We can post it in the show notes or whatever. But there are 10,000 stars basically for each grain of sand on Earth. And if you like keep going down the percentages, there's essentially like 100 habitable planets going around stars in our universe. And if 1% of those could grow intelligent life, and that means that there are as many planets with intelligent life in our universe as there are grains of sand on Earth, which is just like an astronomical number, right? Like that's ridiculous.
Okay, yeah. I'm with you.
So, and then you could even say like based in our own Milky Way galaxy, we're looking at something like let me see, 100,000 intelligent civilizations just in the Milky Way. So the question is, we've been trying to reach out for aliens for about 100 years now, but like nobody's ever responded to us. So the question is, if there's almost a guarantee that there's 100,000 intelligent civilizations within our galaxy, why have none of them ever talked to? Are you with me on that logic so far? Or?
Yeah.
Well, I think what I'm hearing you say is that there are so many planets and so many stars that are like our sun that the probability of a planet with an atmosphere that would support life as we know it almost has to exist. Yes. Maybe like you're saying, the grains of the sand on the Earth. Yeah. There's and even if it's minuscule, there's got to be a chance that there's life out there somewhere. And if there is, why haven't they contacted us? Am I hearing you right? That's
exactly what I'm asking. That is the Fermi paradox.
That's where I was going.
That is it in a nutshell. Is why in the world haven't we heard from them? And then another thing you can think of is like our planet is generally considered to be 4.5 billion years old, which is actually really pretty young in the scheme of things. So like there should be planets that are like twice as old as us and maybe even 3 times as old. So that could support life. So like why haven't there been, spacefaring? I don't know. Have you guys, there are some theories that I think are interesting that we can get into, but do you guys have any ideas of why, if it's almost guaranteed that aliens exist, why haven't we heard from them?
I've thought a little bit about this, and like, so you're saying we're a relatively young planet at whatever you said, 4.5 billion years old.
Yeah.
So I've kind of thought, there's almost no way to me that there's not aliens out there or whatever it is. I don't know what it is, or maybe even more humans or something in a different planet. But what if they were like aliens? What if they're much further advanced than we are as far as technology, and we're just ignorant and dumb to them, and we're not going to reach out. We're not even going to contact them because they're still way down there. Like I wonder if they purposely, they do know we're here and they've heard us and they just like, we're not going to.
Well, that is kind of like one of the theories of why we haven't been contacted is, and I think this will stand out with Dad. There's kind of the prime directive theory where in Star Trek, you didn't, if a society hadn't figured out light speed travel, then you talking to them would interfere with their evolution, and therefore you might mess up what they were supposed to become or whatever. And so, to a degree, we might be like an uncommunicated tribe of, like we think of people that live on islands, and it's like, should we really go over there and tell them that they should live in skyscrapers? No, why would we do that? They're not in a place that they're ready for that. And so other people in the galaxy kind of see us the same way. So that's definitely one theory that I think is super interesting
and plausible. I would say that is a very plausible.
Another
theory.
one that I've heard is that we're like kind of maybe a zoo for other animals, where they kind of like they're entertained by watching our. I mean, and it gets more entertaining every year if you're not a part of the garbage that is living on Earth. But
yeah, what if we're just like what if we're just a big study for some other, like they're just like let's throw this.
Exactly, Truman Show was coming to mind. Yeah.
Let's throw these countries together and have them all run by different people, and we'll throw this like social media thing and see how a person reacts to that and how people live with that. And just like they just throw stuff and like we're just a big sample to go, oh wow, that was terrible. Let's not do that. Let's not have that person run the entire Germany or something. Let's not have a Hitler here.
Yeah. One of the things too, okay, so there are a couple other theories. One of which is that there are no other civilizations out there. And that relies on this idea called the Great Filter. And so the idea is that at some point in evolution, there is like a thing that happens to a society that is almost certain to kill them off or to keep them from progressing scientifically. And so, an example of that could be like once a society harnesses enough power to create something as powerful as a nuke, then they end up just killing themselves off and, never make it to the light speed sort of traveling technology or anything like that. And so one of the question is, where is the Great Filter? Like, have we passed it yet? Or are we unique? Like maybe the Great Filter is something like two-celled organisms. Like having an organism be made up of two cells might be like really hard. And we just assume that seems like the logical follow of life becomes more complex life. But maybe that's a really hard thing. But maybe it's like something that's upcoming where it's, like overpopulation is just like a must, like it's just going to happen before you get to like light speed technology. So the idea is that we're either rare in that we've already passed the Great Filter because, we have done something. We're the only people or one of very few societies to have ever passed this filter that might be, something like complex cells or are you saying the Great Filter is some point in our civilization that we must get past to move on to the next step of evolution? Is that what I'm hearing you say? Yeah. I mean, it might be something that we've already passed, or it might be something that we have to eventually.
We have yet to reach.
And it's hard to know which one it is because we just don't know enough about the universe, but it could explain why there aren't other people or other beings out there if we believe that there aren't other beings. And so, yeah, it could be something really simple, but it could also be something that we just, it might be something like harnessing fire. Like maybe that's the Great Filter, is like learning how to use fire in a meaningful and control that, or electricity or something like that. Or it could be something insanely complicated like using sharing food across the globe, or creating energy out of stone, or something that we just haven't gotten to the point that we even have to deal with yet, or it could be something so insanely simple that we figured it out hundreds and hundreds of million years. So I think that's interesting. It either the idea is that we've already passed it and we're rare, or we're one of the first civilizations, which seems unlikely, or we're looking at the Great Filter coming up. And so I just think that's such an interesting concept of like, that would be why there's radio silence out there, is that, there's just nothing else out there because we're either lucky or we're looming, one or the other. So that's one thought.
I don't know what's coming to mind as you're saying this is, certainly the Christianity, and if you believe in God. I remember hearing Billy Graham one time, they asked him about life on another planet. He goes, well, I can tell you they're not sinners. And the guy said, well, why could you say that? He says, because God sent his only begotten son to this earth to save us, and I thought that was interesting. His belief
definitely an interesting
system.
Yeah.
And so, but anyway, what I guess as you were talking, what comes to mind is if you believe in the Bible and that perhaps we are the only planet, if you believe on that doctrine, it does seem very hard to believe that in the expanse, which is what you set up initially,
right? The
expanse of the universe and all that. But I do think it's got to be plausible that we're here alone. I think that's
in the words of Little Dicky, why couldn't God F with aliens? Yeah, I mean, that's totally, Another interesting thing that came up, I was having this conversation with the intelligent Benji Yeager, you guys know.
Shout out to Benji.
And we were talking about, so what if like we actually are a valuable resource that's maturing in some way? Like aliens do want a hold of something that we've got, but like, you got to let the planet, like you got to let your investment mature. And so they're like these like super intelligent, super highly technologically advanced beings that are like traders that have invested in our planet for some reason. They're like waiting for us to like, solve how to use uranium without killing people or whatever. And then their investment will mature. And then so are those beings that are like kind of protecting their investment, like, they're guarding us from like raider pirate aliens or whatever. So are they kind of like, are they God, if these beings were to exist?
So I have heard like this big theory, and we won't go way into it, but like that really the whole, like the Bible and Christianity is really like Jesus was an alien and he went off on a spaceship and like the Bible is like, we're coming back at some point and all this stuff. But that's neither here nor there. That's a long topic for another day. But it's interesting, your thought on what if we are just like a study, and does that go back into your whole like what if Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk aren't actually humans and they're like the aliens here sent with us to kind of fix the shit that we get ourselves into or something?
Well,
like I think the smarter people.
If you think of like an example of like, so Albert Einstein, I think would be a good example of someone that could have been an alien sent here to protect us from ourselves, because you think he showed up at a time where the world was as bad as it had ever been. He was, doing science leading up to World War II. And he then left Germany to help create the atomic bomb, which ended up essentially stopping Hitler and the rest of the axis of evil, as we call them now. Or not the axis of evil, but the axis powers in World War II. And so you could almost see that as like an alien coming down to protect the kind of like balance that is the politics of planet Earth, which is interesting.
So is it like too much to ask for one of these aliens to run for president or something? Like
we probably if they're idiots, but
yes. They've probably already tried. They're like, oh, those dumb humans, they won't elect one of our aliens.
Yeah, they've been running.
Well, they got to be.
It's Bernie.
They got to be sitting up there going, good God, they can't even get over the differences in the color of their skin.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Yeah. Let's,
Well, that's the great Bill Watterson, who wrote Calvin and Hobbes, had one of my favorite comics of essentially it was like, why do you think intelligent life has never talked to us? And I think Calvin says something along the lines of like, why would they? And
yeah, exactly.
I mean, so a couple more things on the Fermi paradox is like, if they do exist, it's definitely possible that we have either contacted them and we don't know it. Like for example, time functions differently for them. Maybe each second in our time is like, or each 1,000 years in our time is like a second in their time. So like when they reach out to us, their messages are so long that we can't even comprehend that they're messages or something. And another one could be that they've already visited, but like, humans have been around for a lot longer than writing has been around. So who knows what some like Iroquois saw out in 7 million years BC or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
what kind of blows my mind, and this just is us talking about, crazy the stuff that we have no idea on, and we're just throwing random stuff out there. But like the whole like Stonehenge and how the hell like they were able to build that back then without like cars or wheels or something to transport these huge rocks.
They had wheels, but yeah, I mean, like the pyramids, how they got those big rocks up.
Like even to build those today, you'd be like, that's impressive. And they did that when we didn't have any of nowhere near the tools that we have today to build stuff. It just blows my mind.
But it also took a lot longer. Like I know like the pyramids took like multiple lifetimes to create, and they were made by, like they were a side project for farmers that had the summer off or whatever. And so it like, you'd put up like 17 stones a year or something like that. It wasn't like, we have this idea of like, and then they built this amazing thing.
Yeah, we think of it as like a building gets, we think of it as like a skyscraper gets built in a year.
We forget how long Egypt existed. Did you know that Cleopatra lived closer to the moon landing than the building of the pyramids?
Wow.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know. Okay.
It kind of throws you into that. It makes you realize that like as much as a year seems, or like these past 25 years seems for me, it's just like a tiny little itty bitty speck on the whole freaking
well, that's
world.
When I think too hard about the Fermi paradox, I feel like it's the paradox.
It kind of hurts your brain.
It makes me feel so small and so alone. Like the fact that we are nothing in any scale of anything outside of our own existence. but also there might be nothing else. It feels like there's nothing else. So it's like, it's so weird. It's such a weird feeling. Ennui, maybe? Is it ennui?
Ennui, yeah. Where that's apathy, basically. You just don't care.
The other creepy explanation that I enjoy for the Fermi paradox is potentially every other civilization is out there hearing us, but there's like these like pirate aliens that are out just marauding everything, and so all they can think is like, those idiots need to shut up. They're coming. You know what I mean? So like, we're the only ones making noise because we're the only ones that are just like, hey, everybody, come get me. So we'll see if that happens. Probably not.
We're out. Yeah, we're so maybe we're the dumb person in the scary movie. Like, we're just the killer's out there and they're coming. We're just like
there's a lot of evidence about that,
and we're sending out signals like, "Hey, this is where we are. This is."
Yeah, and everybody else is like, STFU. God.
Anyway, so that's the Fermi paradox. It's interesting.
Yeah, very cool.
Clemson's quarterback, who is not there any longer, they have that Trevor Lawrence is the freshman, and he took the job of Kelly Bryant, who was their quarterback that led them to, I think, a championship 2 years ago and then to the playoffs last year. But he's a really good quarterback, but this freshman's supposed to be even better. So they benched Kelly Bryant, and now he still has it with the new transfer rules. Since he only played in four games, he is able to still redshirt and transfer and he's a grad transfer. So he won't even have to sit out a year because he'll graduate this year. So that long buildup was he's visiting around some schools and thinking about where he might go. Well, the University of Arkansas's now head coach Chad Morris used to coach at Clemson and recruited Kelly Bryant to Clemson. So he has a little bit of connection. And Kelly Bryant made an official visit to the University of Arkansas this weekend and was in Fayetteville, and he watched the game and was on Dixon. And I just realized, which I already knew this, but college fandom is absurd, especially in the South. Like, just the following people, like, people were like itching on Twitter to know what's the latest in Kelly Bryant. And the updates were like, Kelly Bryant's at JJ's Bar and Grill. Kelly Bryant just had a steak at Doe's. And I'm like, oh my, people. And it was not only our reporters reporting every single fact about Kelly Bryant, but people are out there salivating, like refreshing their phone to know what's next. And like, it just blows my mind. I don't think people realize when they say on the SEC commercial, like the SEC, it just means more. Not necessarily is like, this isn't even an argument about SEC football is better than Big 12 or better than other stuff. It's that these towns like Fayetteville or where Alabama and all these different towns, they don't have a pro team. And so, and even like Arkansas, they don't have a pro, like they don't have a huge, like a Dallas Cowboys or something in the state. So these fans are really insane about their college programs. And it just blew my mind to go like, there's like confirmed Kelly Bryant, he just called the Hogs at JJ's. He's coming to Arkansas next year. And then like I saw people that I follow on Twitter, clearly they just searched because they got in this big argument. I was reading, I don't know why I spent 10 minutes looking at this, but I saw they got in this big argument with some random person. And I looked up who the person was. And it's this random person from North Carolina who tweeted out something about Kelly Bryant. And he just said, why would Kelly Bryant go to Arkansas? ? And so the person that I know that got into the argument with them clearly just searched on Google or on Twitter, Kelly Bryant, and picked out this person was like, and so I was looking at this guy's tweets. He was like, oh my God, I really just didn't know why that Chad Morris, I forgot he was at Clemson. And I just got berated by a ton of Arkansas fans on why Kelly Bryant would come. And it just blew my mind. Like, this is what, when the SEC says it means more, it's because we're crazy as hell and we love college football.
Well, it means we're insane.
I lived in Little Rock. I don't know if you guys remember when Michael Dyer was going to school at Little Rock Christian, and everybody was losing their mind over where he was going to go to college. And it's like, this kid's 17. He doesn't know what he's going to do this afternoon. He doesn't know whether he's going to go to TCBY or like the ice cream shop. Like, he doesn't know. And like, get off his back, man.
And you're still hearing I guarantee you the sports talk shows tomorrow will start with, like, there was literally after the Tulsa game, after Arkansas Tulsa game, there was like this show that does like a post game radio show, and like their tweets were like, hey, can you please come on and talk about the Kelly Bryant visit and what we can expect in the future? And all I could think is that tweet was just missing, and I'll hang up and listen, because I mean, it's just I guarantee you all the calls on Monday morning is going to be like, so when is Kelly Bryant committing? When is this? And LJ's right. At least like with Kelly Bryant, he is a 22-year-old or 21-year-old. But like,
he's a man. He's almost a man.
But they do the same thing about these 17-year-olds who are just like, they don't even know what if they're going to eat a lunch at the school or if they're going to wait and get McDonald's after they get out. And we're like, what are you going to do for the next 4 years of your life? What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Well, that's okay. So that kind of reminds me of, there's this really good, like, I think it's like an hour and a half worth of material, documentary-ish thing on YouTube made by SB Nation about paying players at Ole Miss and Mississippi State.
Right.
And it's really great. But it just reminds me of like one of the things they talk about is how like you're like trying to the people that do the paying of the players illegally. They talk about like how it's really tough because like you're trying to make sure that you're like paying them enough to where they like actually won't change their minds on a whim because somebody else like told their mom that they should go here or what, because you're dealing with children. I mean, you really are. And so like to get a commitment from somebody to go to Ole Miss, a commitment means what? A commitment means I promise I won't change my mind until I change my mind. So, and what are they going to do? They're going to say like, well, we paid them, $100,000 and they changed their mind on us. So like, let's sue them or what, there's no leeway.
Well, interesting.
It's hard out there paying players.
Interestingly about your, about paying players. Did y'all see that, Woj, Adrian Wojnarowski for ESPN tweeted out, I think Friday or maybe Thursday, that the NBA plans to now offer a professional path to the G League with select $125,000 salaries to players as an alternative to the one and done college route. And
I'm into
the
it.
interesting thing. So what I found interesting about it is this. I'm with you. Why not pay these players? Two, I think people at like Duke or Kentucky or somewhere, like if you told Duke that all it's going to cost is $125,000 to get Zion Williams, I bet they would take that. That's a steal. So
yeah. But would DeAndre Ayton allegedly get paid?
Oh, he was around 100,000, and that's just maybe he got paid. There's still so much more they get, but
right.
The thing that's interesting though is that throws in a whole nother, like I that is good, and I think people will take a 6-figure salary, but you also miss out. Like the G League is a lot like I don't know everything about it, but it's similar to like the minor leagues in baseball, where you're traveling on buses, you're staying in it's not the NFL, the NBA life where you're on first class commercial planes and going to these huge stadiums and playing in the Staples Center. This is not the best glamour life at all. And you're telling guys like, I don't know what if or what Zion Williams may be getting paid at Duke, but he gets to go be at Duke for a year where they're going to, like we just talked about with college fans, they're going to love him. And he's going to be everything. Like they did their Midnight Madness and it went crazy. And the Cameron Crazies, there's an environment there that
the question I have then that would make it worth it is what does it take to get called up? If you're like obviously like one of those players from like the LeBron, Kobe could have gone from high school to NBA players and you're in the G League now. Like, do you have to play a whole year to get called up, or is it like once you played 3 games they can call it? Like, do you know?
No, it's still this is worked out. They did this. I think there was like a big meeting they did over the week, the owners meeting, and this is something they're planning on introducing. We don't know all the facts. I do know that it's only going to be for select players, so it's not like everyone that goes to the G League is going to get this $125,000 salary. It's going to be like you said. It's going to be the guys who are legit superstar talents like Zion Williams, like LeBron was, like Kobe was. But the thing that kind of gets lost in the weeds from this, this is exactly what one Mr. LeVar Ball was trying to start with his basketball league. It is the blueprint of what he was doing. Yeah. He kind of, as much as people don't like LeVar Ball, I know, Dad, there's been times where you're not the biggest fan. He kind of is the reason I think this is getting started. The NBA is like, all right, they kind of shut LeVar Ball down because there's no way his league even matters anymore because this one's affiliated with the NBA and pays the same. Right. But the NBA did this because LeVar Ball was putting up a league. So it's kind of interesting to me that he kind of started something, and it was crazy enough that the NBA was like, let's do it. And it's going to come, I think y'all are to the right point. At some point, I don't know how the NCAA does it. They're just going to start paying the athletes. I don't know how or why or how they can do it, but guys are getting paid. Like, it was funny that the recent report was, and that FBI stuff's going on a little more. And there was like a new report. We won't get way into it, but apparently Zion Williams Bill Self's in trouble right now because Zion Williams asked for cash and job opportunities for his parents and a place to stay or something, and they were going to make it work. And one of the people that works for Adidas said that Bill Self told him that, hey, you need to get this for Zion Williams, and they have like a phone recording of it. So now, but what's more interesting to me is. What's more interesting is, so wait, Zion Williamson was asking for all these things from Bill Self, and then he decided to go to Duke because he wants a good education and he wants to go play. So I bet I don't know, but if he was asking for money before and then changed his mind, probably still asking for money.
Priorities change.
And if I'm Zion, and if I'm Zion Williams, I'm like LJ though. If I'm him, go ask for your money. If someone's willing to pay you, go get paid. It just needs to change where they can go pro straight out of high school, and that will soon, I think.
Well, and that kind of reminds me of that documentary I was talking about on YouTube, where they, the way that you actually get school in trouble with the paying of the players is you got to talk to a player that got paid by the coaching staff that's currently there, or at least got offered. And so that's when you can talk to like rival school and say like, hey, linebacker for Mississippi State, how much did Ole Miss offer to pay you? And then that's when you can start getting things.
Well, and that one's
so that might be somewhere that comes.
That story is interesting, and I've followed some of that stuff you're talking about from SB Nation, and that one's interesting because it's like rival schools now who guys are trying to kind of get at Ole Miss, like, Ole Miss offered, like Ole Miss did pay me, but Mississippi State offered me too, and like they start throwing stuff under the bus, and that can start a whole war. But that I think we'll get into our whole pay the players stuff, but. So we haven't done this in a while because we haven't been recording with each other. We hadn't all been on the same pod in a while. So I wanted to do what we're listening to because I haven't heard what Dad's been listening to, what LJ, and actually I got an interesting album that Jake, Jake the Snake, who joined our podcast once, who won the tournament. He put me on this new album I want to tell y'all about. But news in the music world, as you remember that the album, maybe one of the best R&B albums of all time, Usher's Confessions album.
Oh boy.
It was actually, I think it was the first album I ever, which I say I bought with my own money. It was probably money that I got from mom or dad because I think that came out in 2004. So I was a little bitty kid, but it was the first album like I owned, and it was my album, and I was put it in my little CD player with the headphones, whatnot. But the Philadelphia songwriter Daniel Marino just got awarded $44 million because he won a lawsuit where he proved that he wrote the guitar hook and tempo for the song called Bad Girl, which is one of the singles off that album. And I just blew my mind that it's 2018 now. It took 14 years for him to prove that. And I guess it was worth all the wait because he's getting $44 million. It's not all from Usher. I think like 12 million was from Usher. Some was from the recording art studio. And it's all from different stuff. But that just blew my mind that I wonder how often that happens where someone kind of gets something stolen from them. And really, they just can't battle the big suits. Like they can't battle
There's actually, I would love to share a video now that you brought that up. This bass guitar player that does like sort of like YouTube music education has this video on whether or not Ed Sheeran stole from Marvin Gaye, because there was a lawsuit about that going on relatively recently. And it is so interesting the way that he talks about like what constitutes stealing and like, can you steal a guitar line? Because how many guitar lines can there be to write? Am I right? Like there is a limit.
There's got to be a finite number. Yeah.
Right. And you said tempo is something that he technically created. And there's only like, there are literally just as many tempos as there are numbers. That's it. A tempo is a number. So he didn't invent the tempo of 166 or whatever. So so it's really hard to really even quantify what stealing.
And it was just interesting to me because obviously if this took 14 years to finally win, and it, like we said, it was worth the wait. He won 44 million, but that means this guy had to lawyer up and go to court for 14 years. That's expensive. And I'm thinking of like out of the realm of say like our boy Truth that makes the music for us on this. Like if he comes up with something and like a big name rapper found it and stole it, we probably don't have the money to go to.
You probably say like, okay, Future, please give me a shout out. Well, and
like
for example,
you can't go to war with this.
That happened to a guy. It ended up working out for him, but so Drake wrote "So Far Gone" as his first like real mixtape that got big.
Right.
And do you remember the end of that beautiful piano piece?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that was actually a song completely written by a guy named Chili Gonzalez, and Drake just totally stole the song and put it on his album with a wine cork popping off at the beginning of it. And
really?
So Chili Gonzalez didn't have any recourse. What was he going to do? Sue him for a mixtape? Because you don't make profit off of a mixtape. So it's like, what are you going to take from him? But he ended up like making a little bit of a stink on, I think, Twitter or something like that. And he ended up actually working with Drake for whatever that album was that had Marvin's Room on it or whatever.
Take Care.
Yeah. So he worked with him on Take Care. So it kind of worked out, but it is like, cool. Yeah, but you can't, I mean, if Drake steals from you, the middle tier famous composer, then what are you going to do? I mean, his fans are never going to let you like just take credit for it. And the court case is not going to be worth your money because you're going to not have enough money to see it all the way through. So it's rough.
I just thought that one, it was interesting that happened now. And then I saw the link and I thought, oh, I love that album. So I wanted to read about it. And then I was just like, I thought about it. I was like, man, if that were me and I made a song, I probably just couldn't go to war with Usher. I just had to go. It's pretty cool that Usher's song is actually stolen from me, but no one will ever know but me and probably like y'all, like my family, but it's still cool.
Well, we'd share it with our dozens of people.
What we're listening. What are you listening to? Yeah.
What we're listening to? My boy Jake Perlman put me on. Have you ever heard of? Have you?
I was wondering what are we listening to?
We got way off the trail.
Have you ever heard of Tierra Whack, LJ?
No.
It's I think I heard about her about 2 weeks ago. Whenever Jake just sent me a message like, "Hey, you should listen to this." And it's the latest album. She has a couple of different albums, but her latest album is this album called Whack World. It came out this year, and it's 15 songs. Each one is 1 minute long, so it's a 15-minute album. And it's the weirdest. It's the weird one. The music's just really cool and interesting, and I think you'd really dig it.
Yeah.
But it's the weirdest. It's the weirdest thing for me because I kind of hate it and kind of love it at the same time because since the songs are 1 minute, like as soon as I start to really start getting into it, it's over and the next song comes on, and then as soon as I start to get into that song, the next song comes on. So I'm kind of like, damn it, I want a full 3 minutes or 4 minutes of this song, not just the 50 seconds. But it's interesting, and then I'll put in the show notes. It's actually like a visual album too, so it has like a 15-minute video of going each song.
That's super interesting to me because I write a lot of music for shows, and they're usually like about 1 minute long, and then so like after the show's done, actors will be like, "Can we get like a CD of the music in the show?" And it's like, you heard every bit that I wrote. Like, there's nothing else.
That's the song.
And I'm not going to sit here and write it out to be 4 minutes just for your sake. Like, no, it's done.
Just for you.
So that's interesting. I wonder like what led up to being 1 minute songs. And
it's not like, that would be, I would too, because it's not, I've listened to other stuff by her, and it's not like some of her singles and stuff that they're full songs, like normal songs.
Right.
But
she's not just like lazy.
Whatever reason. But yeah, so Tierra Whack, she's worth a listen.
All right.
Dad, what have you always got something interesting?
Well, I've got one song by one group.
I mean, you've probably been listening to your boy, that what's the podcast you listen to all the time?
He's not back.
Yeah.
Right?
No, Gladwell's not out. He doesn't have any new ones out
waiting.
yet. So
we're still waiting.
So yeah, we're still waiting on that with bated breath. With bated breath. I just can't wait.
We need more to talk about. Put out a new episode, please.
I might bring up something of one of his obscure ones we hadn't talked about. Do you know the band Wooster?
Sounds familiar.
Wooster. Wooster. They got a song, "Ooh Girl," and that's what I'm going to put on.
Okay.
It's you probably heard it on some of my playlists before, but I just heard it this weekend, and I really like it. We actually built a little fire. It was cool here last night, and had some music going. I had a little accident too. But,
can we tell the?
You have to kind of weird.
You have to tell it out.
Okay. You can't just say I had an accident.
So, I mean, I've got like Tammy and Joe and Carla. They're sitting up there, and they're having some drinks, on the porch, and I'm tending the fire.
Sure.
And I start walking back, and somehow perfectly, a fire poker.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, a fire poker. Somehow I take a step, right? And the fire poker catches the top of my shoe. It's laying on the ground. Okay. So the end of the fire poker catches my shoe. The other end digs into the ground. And so I'm trying to take a step, and the fire poker's got my leg stuck. And you know what I'm saying? So I can't, I'm stuck, but all my momentum's going forward.
Did you fall?
I fall down and go boom. And so
big tree go boom.
Big tree go boom on the bricks. I mean, I didn't even fall on the grass that would have been a little soft.
Man.
I fall on the bricks and right on my hip. So, I mean, I fall down, I go boom, and nobody says anything. And I'm like, maybe they didn't see me or what? You know, how could they not see a 200-pound man
Fall down,
be
go boom.
awkward as hell and fall down and go boom? But nobody said a word because they didn't know if that was going to be embarrassing. Anyway, I kind of get up, I shake it off, look around, and they kind of go, "Are you okay?" So they completely saw me. They didn't want to embarrass me.
Oh, man.
And then this morning I get up out of bed and like my hips, it's okay. I'm going to be fine. But it's like my hips kind of bruised and sore and everything. I mean, can you imagine a fire poker catches the top?
No, honestly,
of your
I don't know
shoe
how a
and
fire
the
poker
grass?
grabs your shoe. I don't know. I don't know if
I will show you. You're coming down next weekend,
Yeah.
Kevin. I will show you.
Reenactment.
I'll give you a visual.
Can we get a
of how
video
this
of said
happened.
reenactment so we can post it?
Yes. I mean, and here, boys, is the main lesson of all this.
There we go. We
never
need a
mean-
lesson.
You never mean to have an accident. You never plan on having an accident. As careful as you can be,
That's an
as
episode
careful as you
title.
are, you can still have an accident.
Now,
So anyway, and in between doing all this, I was listening to Wooster, Old Girl. So to bring it back in,
to rein it back in.
we were listening to
So
Wooster.
I have two follow-up questions. Well, one's a question, one's just a statement. But was alcohol involved?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
yes.
And then the statement I had was, I hope the listeners out there notice this as well. But that means you're fighting through the pain. You're podcasting through a sore hip right now. Like you woke up, you were sore. I mean, you made it into the
He
office.
did make a
You
point to
sat
tell
down.
us about it. He is pulling a big Ben, but you know.
Yeah, he's wearing a walking boot. He's wearing a walking boot right now. But
No.
He's like, what am I listening to? Well, my hip is bothering me, but Wooster.
But I'm playing through it.
oh my goodness! And he thought about not sharing this accident with us, boy.
No, I'm trying to give you two young bucks a story in life that's going to help you. You never plan to have an accident. Beware, they can always happen. And unfortunately, Kevin, as you hit the nail on the head, alcohol was involved. So anyway, that's what I'm listening to.
All right, so I hope everybody, when they listen to Ooh Girl, they just think of Dad falling and wobbling his arm around and falling on the brick. So, El, what have you been listening to? You been listening to anything good?
Well, I've been working hard on, so I've got like a bunch of minutes songs for Anne Frank that we wrote with some of the students, so you can't listen to those. But other things I've been listening to is, so it's now finally like legit cold. So I've been listening to Time Bomb by Iration because it makes me feel
Ooh.
like summertime, you know?
Yeah.
It warms me up a bit. So that's pretty great. And
That
then,
is really great.
yeah. I think, Dad, you showed me that band. But anyway.
Maybe so, but yeah, great band.
And then I've also been listening to Tank and the Bangas came out with a new song a couple weeks ago called Spaceships, and it is spectacular. And
Well, I
they're
will give
performing
that
in
a listen.
Chicago. They're performing in Chicago on Friday, and if I can like just make some money magically appear, Hannah and I will definitely have to go. But we'll just have to see.
You
But
know,
What's the name of the
those are my
song, LJ?
Spaceships.
Spaceship. Got it.
You know what? I just
Plural,
realized.
spaceships.
I just realized that, and I mentioned him before. But y'all remember when I mentioned Leon Bridges and he did the Tiny Desk concert? Well, apparently he was up in Northwest Arkansas in Bentonville playing a concert, and I had no idea. Someone put on their story, they were like Leon Bridges, and I was like, wait, where was Leon Bridges? And they're like, oh, he was here. And it pissed me off because I was like, why? If I'd have known this, I would have made a plan to try to go
You'd
see.
have been there.
Like I'm kind of like LJ. I'd have to check. I'd have to transfer some funds around. You know the way my bank account's set up. But
I have to pull out from my bookie a little bit,
Yeah.
but, you know.
or I just have to put a lot on one of Uncle Tony's lines, and hopefully I make some money. But I just really wish I would have seen Leon Bridges live. It'd have been awesome. But
Yeah. I bet he
Yeah,
puts
that'd
on
be
a
great.
hell of a live show.
Yeah.
all right, well, I think that about wraps us up for this week. It was good to finally get back on with you guys. It seems like it's been forever.
Mm-hmm.
But
Way too long.
Well, now and then we'll be back later this week. We'll recap some of the NFL games. I know everyone's waited with bated breath to hear. It's been a couple of weeks, so they're probably upset because they didn't get to win. They bet on their own money and on their own thoughts.
Yeah, from
And they
last
didn't
week.
have any. They didn't have like a couple of steals from Uncle Tony on who to bet on, and so they just lost their ass this way. They probably bet on the Cowboys or something, and
All right, guys. We'll try to have Uncle Tony back on Tuesday. We'll see what we can do.
Well, but the Broncos won big, and Roethlisberger didn't play, so we might not even have anything to yell about this week. I don't know what we're going to even do.
I can just picture Tony's head just getting bigger and bigger as this is playing, and it's just like, yeah, you're darn right.
Yeah.
All right,
he needs help with that.
Well, for this week's Just Press Play, I think that'll do it, guys. Peace out.
Peace.
Peace.